Hey guys, welcome to the podcast. So tonight I have a super special guest actually. This is Tara of Indigo Reptile Company, which is actually one of our sponsors. So Tara, thanks for coming on the show. I'm really excited to have you.
Me too.
I
Thanks for having me.
yeah, I wanted to actually have you go ahead and like introduce yourself and kind of talk to us about how you got into reptiles and managing an entire shop full of them.
It's a lot. Well, I've always had animals since I was young, and always like loved reptiles. I've had literally everything growing up. Um, and then I just continued it through my adult life, and I ended up rescuing like 26 snakes, and that's where I got the idea. Maybe I should open a shop, and so kind of did, and here we are. I mean, it was just kind of a shot in the dark.
Right. But it's
Learned a
been
lot.
working. Yeah. It's a
Yeah.
trial by error, or
Yeah,
what's the
yeah,
yeah.
probably should have went to school or something for this. But
Well, I've been to the
um
shop. You do pretty good.
thank you. Yes, made a lot of mistakes along the way and still making mistakes, but definitely learning. You know. But
Yeah.
it's a lot, but luckily I have help.
It's definitely part of the process. I feel like just like anything when it comes to reptiles or exotic animals in general, it's all a learning curve all the time.
All the time. Yes. Even if
Yeah.
you yeah. Mom.
You can get him if you want. You know, he's asking a question.
Oh no, that they're getting ready to head out.
Oh, okay, cool. I didn't want him to feel like he was being left out or something. Okay, so I actually want to ask you because this is something I've been asked a couple times because I'm always talking about Indigo. Where did you come up with the name, or where did the name originate, Indigo Reptile Company?
So originally we were Rockin' Reptiles. My 12-year-old came up with that name and I absolutely loved it. But unfortunately we had some issues in the very beginning of the business. So I had to close down, rebrand, and reopen.
Yeah.
I was in the accountant's office starting the new business when I had to come up with a name pretty quickly. But I thought about it prior. I always wanted something with like and co or company in it. I just, for some reason, I liked the idea of that. Um, and I remembered my visit to Tampa Zoo. We got like a little special visit to see their like back area where they're breeding indigo snakes because they're on the endangered species list. So they're trying to add to the population. So that kind of just stuck in my head, and I was like, Indigo Reptile Co. Perfect. And then I kind of Googled it to make sure nobody else had that name. Um, Luckily, they didn't, but I did run into a girl that has indigo reptiles, which is funny, and she's close to me as well. But I didn't see that when I Googled it. So, yeah, just made sure nobody else had the name and went from there.
It's a pretty rad name though, because
Thank you.
Indigo snakes are actually, I feel like they're some of my favorites because they've got that iridescent kind of look to them.
Yeah. Okay, baby.
Pardon me while I sip my monster.
Months.
Okay, so the other question I wanted to kind of really get into, especially because you know, operate a shop full of reptiles. What is something that people should be looking for when they enter into a reptile shop? Because I mean, I've been to some shops and you walk in and you just kind of know, you're like, this is not, they're not taking care of the animals, XYZ, just bad things. So what would you tell people to look for if they're searching for a reptile?
Um, well, definitely looking at the cleanliness of the enclosures, how the animals are taken care of. That's always number one, and then just looking at the animal that you're interested in getting and just really checking it out, listening to it, making sure it doesn't, isn't making any wheezing noises for respiratory infections, checking it for mites, and just checking, its cloaca and mouth and eyes to see, kind of check the health of it. Mom, why are you
Yeah.
in your hair?
So just making sure that like the enclosure and everything's kept up, the store itself. And I think too, like making sure that the employees are knowledgeable on at least the animals that they can tell you about, you know.
Yeah, and not giving out false information. But if you're new to reptiles, you really don't know who has the accurate information and who doesn't. Some of it is not. Some of it, there's different schools of thought. I know we've talked about this before, and some are not wrong, and some, they're not wrong and they're not right. But it's not detrimental to the animal for some of these schools of thought, such as like, feeding frozen or live, different things like that. But yeah, just definitely the cleanliness, definitely. And then if the employees are knowledgeable, that's even better. But sometimes, they're just not. But hopefully, you have a good shop that makes you feel welcome and that's willing to give you
Definitely.
information on the animal, tell you properly how to take care of it, and kind of be there for you even once you purchase the animal from them. If they have any questions for you to make you feel like you can reach out and ask them questions about their animal. I mean, it's very important. And we follow through all the way, for the whole time you have your animal. If you have any questions, call us. We're here to help. And we're always
Right.
trying to post things online about different times of the year when maybe like the bearded dragons go into brumation. I know a lot of our customers were scared. They thought something was wrong with their bearded dragon, so we posted about that. And just different things to remind people about their animals for certain times of year.
Right.
Um, but yeah, feeling like you can ask questions is like the biggest part of it without feeling, like they're anybody's being condescending to you or making you feel like you're wasting their time. um
Right.
I think we should all be sharing knowledge and information as much as possible.
For sure. And I know I've met a lot of people where there's almost this kind of like preconceived idea of how something should be done, and I always tell people, I'm like, start educating instead of just attacking people, right?
Yeah,
Because there are so many different ways. I know some people that have ball pythons and like they will not eat frozen. It's what are you gonna do? You can't force them, but they'll get shamed and criticized for it. I'm like, don't do that. It's
yeah,
about
I don't.
positivity.
Yeah, just like my manager at the shop says, it's almost like parenting. You don't get an exact guide on how to do everything, and if you use your common sense, usually that pay attention, use your common sense. But yeah, don't attack people for doing the wrong things. Offer help and information. I think that's the most important in our community.
100%, definitely being there. And I kind of like what you said about them answering questions. Even like you said, you guys will do it long after someone has brought home a reptile from you. That's so important because that shows that you not only care about the customer, but you also care about the animal itself.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's a good way also to make sure that the animal is being taken care of, things like that. Have you, this is just kind of a curious side question. Have you ever had a situation where you've kind of watched the animal go to a home and then you thought, okay, this isn't the best situation the animal's in?
I haven't had that. I do have like nightmares about that sometimes when if I'm scrolling through Facebook and I see those beardy groups and they're like, I don't know what to do. And then you see the enclosures and you just feel so bad for that animal. Now, the
Yeah.
customers that come into our shop, most of them I see them on a regular basis so that I know that they're being taken care of. Because the customers are always in for food and different things for their animal. So it's nice to see that. But we did have somebody buy a snake from us, an elderly snake. She's 15. And then they did just surrender her again. So I'm glad that people feel comfortable coming here for help if their child loses interest in their animal. That's very important. We don't want to let these animals loose, and we want to be here and supportive for everybody in the community, and not make people feel bad. If you have to surrender it because your child lost interest, things change, life changes. But at least there's people that will take them in and will take care of them,
Right. And
find
I
them on
like
the
how you
internet.
said that because there's a lot of controversy, obviously, about kids having reptiles, right? I think
Mhm.
personally, like, I love the fact that kids are interested in reptiles. It's awesome. I mean, how do we expect them to grow up and love these animals without the interest being there now. So you don't want to kill the interest. But on the same hand, like you said, as the parent, if your kid does lose interest, if they don't want to take care of it, at that point it's the consideration of like what's best for this animal, what's best for this snake.
Yeah, exactly. There, baby. He's leaving. Right there, babe. Up. Yeah, very important. Very important to make everybody feel included and help,
Yeah.
and that's how you keep people in the community as well, and into animals is, maybe they don't know what they're doing, and you can help them and give them pointers, and then they're like, oh wow, this thing is really thriving now, and maybe I do know what I'm doing, and they get all excited about it again, but I do have bad dreams about, hopefully, that's not happening to any of our animals. We try to vet our adopters well, but you can only do what you can do.
Right. And I think too, it's almost a matter of like certain shops attract certain genres, and not just with reptile, but across the board, you know? So for someone who might be interested in really diving in, they're doing everything right, they're Googling XYZ, they might come across Indigo or their local reptile company that is more reputable, and at that point you're attracting that clientele, which is it's really good, it's building a solid name.
Yeah,
Um,
and a lot of our customers, when their kids want a pet, what I've been noticing lately is that the parent will make them do a project on the animal and get all the information they need, how to feed it, how to take care of it, what kind of environment it needs, everything, and then the kid will have to do a presentation in order to be able to get that reptile. And I feel like that is such a responsible parent, and
yeah.
yeah, it's great. And I've seen that, a lot. It's not just a one-off situation. I've seen that a lot here. So that's wonderful, responsible reptile keeping and parenting.
100%. That's really impressive, and I really like the creativity behind it because it gives them something to focus on. And so
And work for.
they're gonna focus on that reptile if they're gonna hold that attention for that long.
Yes. Yes.
That's really cool.
I did give my 6-year-old a curly hair tarantula, and of course his dad takes care of it.
Yeah,
But he's 6. What do you
right.
expect? It's at least it's getting him in there, getting the knowledge there. And my dad bought me every animal I wanted. A frog, I mean everything. So that's how you get people interested and kids interested in animals.
Right, 100%. And I think too, that was me growing up too, is my parents would always bring it, they'd let me bring in the snakes or the lizards. And even if my mom didn't like them, they're still coming in the house and they encourage that. And I think that's a huge reason why a lot of us ended up doing what we do.
Yeah. Yeah. Cultivated from childhood is, yes, definitely.
Absolutely.
Or the
I was,
newer ones. We've had adults come in here that are definitely afraid of snakes, and they'll hold them because their kids want them.
yes.
And I love that. And then they're not so afraid of snakes anymore. We have so many people that they've held their first snake here for the first time, and the fear just went away.
So it's actually funny. I love you guys. My first snake bite was at Indigo. At the
Really?
shop. Yeah, first snake bite ever was at your shop, and it was the California King.
I think everybody got bit by that thing.
Everybody. I swear, he's so spicy. And every time I go in there, I want to say hi. I'm like,
Yeah. Yeah. He
we
was
don't, we
adopted.
don't vibe.
Yeah, he was adopted. We do have another California King coming in. But see, the thing about those, and I know you guys, you already know, but as babies, they're definitely spicy. But as they get older, they are so sweet. They're the
They mellow
best.
out. Yeah.
Yeah, they really do.
And they're really, really pretty. I've always liked the colors
Gorgeous.
and like the patterns on king snakes in general, but like those are just that black and white. Oh my God, it's so
Yeah,
pretty.
vibrant.
Yeah. How do you, as like an individual, what does it take to source your reptiles? Because I noticed, when you're sourcing as like a chain, they are constantly bringing in like these massive bulk orders, which we all are against, obviously. But when it comes to individual shops, you guys go through breeders, or how does that work?
Yeah, so I do know most of the small shops, they breed their own animals. For me, I just don't feel I don't feel like I'd be doing us a service or our community a service by doing that, because there's so many breeders out there. But I do like to make our shop community oriented by showcasing local breeders' animals. As long as, and I vet them very well. I make sure to see their setups, their breeding areas, make sure that everything is clean, and these animals are coming from healthy, clean, and reputable and responsible reptile breeders. So if we do, and we don't often, but if we do buy animals, that's where it would come from. A lot of the times we get a lot of rehomes. A lot of rehomes. We just had one of our regular customers move to Europe, and she surrendered her bearded dragon, which was absolutely gorgeous, and GHI Mojave ball python, which is absolutely gorgeous. So that was awesome. I had another customer that went into the military, gave me all of his snakes.
Wow.
So I like that. I think it's best for our community the way that I am doing it. But that's just my opinion. Everybody has a different opinion, but that's how I am, I guess, able to sleep at night. I like to feel like what I'm doing is right and good for the community.
I like that though, because not only, like you said, you're doing this for the community, you're also helping the animals. You're not contributing to, this already very saturated market. If anything, I
Yeah.
feel like you're helping the market just stay at a healthy level.
Yeah.
Chris actually just asked us what it takes to open up a reptile shop. Like,
Oh
what is
my
that? I
lord.
guess what is that process, which I
Well,
imagine is a little wild.
so to be honest, I thought I knew a little bit about business, when I opened my first business, or I guess this is my second, but um wow. Yeah. Um so I just jumped the gun, and there was a spot available right in the front of my neighborhood, and just called on it, ended up renting it, and then ordered stuff, and then found out after opening that we need some licenses. So I had to do that real quick, and so we held on to for the animals from selling and stuff like that. We had to figure all that out, and then the business licenses, and then the city licenses, and then the Department of Revenue. There's all kinds of stuff to kind of get your ducks in a row first. So if I were to do it again, I would know a lot better where to start. But it was a fun journey. I mean, it was rough, but definitely worth it in the end. It was. I kind of just figured everything out by myself. I mean, asking people that I know, people in the reptile community really helped me out a lot. But just kind of figuring it all out and navigating it all myself was rough,
Yeah.
very rough, but fun and rewarding. Now that we've been open a couple years, I mean, even seeing the kids that have been coming in for years and seeing them as they get to grow, that's a whole nother rewarding part to what I do. And I didn't even take that into consideration, but seeing these kids grow, I mean, it's awesome. A lot of them, want to be herpetologists, and so it's really exciting. But yeah, just finding the vendors, the quality vendors, that's number one. We try to breed as much as we can ourselves, but finding the quality and reliable vendors, that's a big one.
Yeah.
Licensing, and
Is
then
there like a different type of license? So I know that like hognose snakes, they're technically venomous except their fangs are like rear facing, right? So is there a separate license you need for if you were to carry venomous species? Or is it all kind of umbrellaed?
no, so yes, so for venomous species, with the Florida wildlife, I believe, I'm not an expert on this, but from what I've heard, is you need 1,000 hours of experience underneath another person that has that permit, and I believe it's a class 1. It's either a class 1 or class 2, because the typical is class 3 for selling and showing your animals. But for venomous is either class 1 or class 2, and you need 1,000 hours. And I heard they're very strict on that. They will make sure that you spent that time at that facility for that long. From what I've heard, they can go into different avenues to find out and make sure that you were at the spot that you said you were, to get your hours for 1,000 hours.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
So
they're
they take it very,
super like
yeah.
very
The more
strict, which
intense, the
I mean, I can't argue. If it's venomous, I mean, if you're dealing with like rattlesnakes and things like that, I
yeah,
can see why.
yeah.
Definitely. I love Chris just chimed in. He said Tara is in Florida. Yeah, Chris. So Tara is actually Indigo is in Florida. Um, Tara lives in Florida. So
Tampa
I mean,
Bay area. Woo-hoo.
yeah, we have a lot of reptile keepers and lovers around here, and I especially saw that. I think like when I kind of just came in and volunteered a little bit at the shop. Um, the people that came in, I'm gonna be honest, it was busy. I didn't expect a reptile shop to be as busy as it was, and nothing against Indigo by no means. But I think in Florida, we have a lot of people down here who are really into the whole reptile.
And it helps as more shops open, you cultivate a reptile community around there. I mean, I'm sure there's a ton of people in this area that have become, reptile lovers just from coming here to this shop, you know?
Yeah,
So just opening up that access to people. I think we're one of the only shops that allows you to hold the animals. We're pretty lenient with that because we're not too busy. I know it seems like we're busy at times. It is a very small shop, so even if there's, two groups of people in here, it's
right.
full. But yeah, just cultivating that community, and it opens, it opens access to kids. And we have a lot of kids that come in and want to hold the animals and be a part of it, so we take them on as volunteers, and when they come in, I'll hand them the mister, and they know what they can mist and what they can't, and they do their little job to help
That's
out.
cool though, because you're bringing in, not only are you bringing in like that love for animals, you're also growing the community. You're also teaching them a skill, basically, which I think is
Yeah, they
great.
learn
That's
the
what we should be
different
doing.
environments. Yeah,
Yeah.
they're able to learn the different environments just with the spray bottle. They know you don't spray the bearded dragons, you don't spray the Uromastics, you can spray the cresties and the frogs and the ball pythons. So I mean, I think that alone teaches them so much.
100%. And also too, when it comes to like just education, knowledge, things like that, being able, like you said, to go into a shop and talk to people who are more specific on exotic animals, that's a big thing too, is you don't want to go to Petco, right? And not because it's Petco, big chain, but because like you might have employees that know more about cats and dogs, or fish. So it's really nice to be able to go to an exotic animal shop and get that hands-on experience with people who are comfortable and that you feel safe with handling those animals.
Yeah, that knows the specifics of those type of breeds. Because you're right, if you go to the big box stores, they have a general knowledge of this and that.
Right.
But this is a niche store, which is awesome. There's not a lot, not a ton of places, all over that are specialized in reptiles. So it just makes it more fun.
Right. And it's like like you said, you've got people that come in and because they have kids that want a snake, they're holding this snake that they've been scared of. And that's something like you said is really, really rewarding. And it's something really cool to see is that fear just kind of like dissipate and go away.
Yeah. Yeah, it really
Now,
is. And you feel like, because growing up, I know all of us are probably our grandmothers were deathly afraid of snakes. And I understand other countries, like my nail lady, she's like, I'll never come in there. But I understand because where she's from, they are taught to be afraid of the snakes because most of them are venomous over there in Vietnam or,
right.
wherever, you know. So that's understandable. But over here, like I said, our grandmothers were definitely afraid of snakes. I'm sure. I know my mom was, my grandfather. But just opening it up to a community and letting people know that it's not scary or gross or slimy or
Right.
and it's fun for the whole family. There's so many families that come in and they love taking pictures with the snakes, and it's great.
And there's so many different options too. It's like if you have someone who wants a setup that is, let's say, more bioactive, or you really want to put time into like the plants and the humidity, you have dart frogs. If you want something that's super, super dry or something that doesn't require a lot of humidity, you have other species of reptile that are desert or tropical or this or that. There's really something literally for everyone.
There is. And based on your lifestyle, when somebody comes in and they're looking for a specific animal, I kind of try to figure out their lifestyle. Do you travel a lot? What, I give them the basics of every animal so they know about what the care is going to require. Somebody may choose a leopard gecko over a bearded dragon because you don't want to cut up veggies every single day and soak the beardy and be there and spend as much time with it, where a lot of reptiles you don't have to do all that stuff all the time. And ball pythons are great if you travel because they only need to be fed every now and then, and their moisture needs to be up. So we try to find the best fit for anybody that's looking for a specific reptile.
I'm kind of glad you said that too, because that was going to be my next question is what you normally like, what does the process look like when someone comes in and they're like, hey, I want to adopt a reptile, but I don't know what reptile or animal.
That's the fun part. That's really the fun part. Well, I was in real estate for years, so it's kind of the same thing, finding the right person that goes with that's looking for this specific, thing, just matching them up,
Right.
and it's rewarding, it's fun, and then I have customers that will bring me animals in that I get to experience for the first time too. We have this one gentleman that brings in children's pythons. Those are now my freaking favorite, and I want them. Yes,
Yes.
they're amazing.
I
And so
love
he taught
them.
me something new, which is really fun. But yeah, vetting people when they're looking for something specific, just kind of finding out their lifestyle and what'll work for them. Do they want to mist? Are they okay with misting every day or 3 times a day or whatever it may be? Or maybe a leopard gecko might be best for you. Put in some bugs every now and then, or whatever. Just figuring out their lifestyle and what would fit well into their lifestyle, because you don't want to set somebody up with an animal that's going to require a lot of work and it's their first time. They're not
Right.
going to, it may not be what they're looking for. So definitely like checking the boxes and finding meeting the criteria of their lifestyle is very important.
Definitely. And I think too, like a lot of people have been like, so you have snakes, you have ball python. I'm like, yeah, okay, I have snakes. What do you think about chameleons? And I'll straight up tell people, I'm like, I personally prefer the fact that, keeping tarantulas, scorpions, snakes, even the crested geckos, it's super, super easy, right? They're lower maintenance species. Yeah, I got to miss, but that's about it. I don't do chameleons, and I'll tell them like they're too complicated for me.
I don't,
But then there
yeah, I don't blame
are,
you.
yeah, there's some people that they love them and they live for it. They're like, I love misting, I love setting up the enclosure, this and that. And like you say, it's person to person. It's what do you want to do and how much are you willing to commit to?
Exactly. What do you enjoy? Yeah, I love those people that are really into their chameleons. I love seeing their setups and how much they enjoy it. But for me, they don't move too much in the shop. And so if we do have a chameleon in, we'll have it for 6 months.
Yeah,
And I just, if we have one that comes in that needs a home, and it's in good health, we will take it. We've had people leave apartments and just leave their chameleons in there, and then the cleaners of the apartments will bring the chameleons here. So of course I'm not going to say no to them, but we did
right,
have that chameleon in for 6 months, and it finally got home, which was great. But I wouldn't go out and buy chameleons
right.
for the
How do
shop.
you now with reptiles, like it's about breeders, things like that. Do you usually find your feeders from breeders as well? I mean, obviously people breed feeders, but there's different sources for feeders as well, right?
Yes.
What do you know? Where do you normally get your feeders?
So, my biggest thing, and I know you know this, is quality for my shop. And my most important when working with a vendor is quality, communication, and reliability. Those are the three things that I really need when it comes to working with somebody on a regular basis, because I don't like being out of anything. If my customers want it, I don't want to be out of it ever.
Right.
You know? So I have a specific vendor for a few different things. I have a specific vendor for another. And then a lot of the stuff I breed myself. My discoids I do myself. My mealworms mostly do myself. Rats, ASF, mice. We try to do all of that ourselves. The rats we had to outsource a little bit, but there was a big vetting process on rats, because that has been the most difficult, finding quality, which is why we were doing our own. It's a lot of work to do your own rats, but the quality has to be there. So the vetting process with the rodent breeders is kind of a lot. But what's great is a lot of our customers, they'll breed their own rats for their own animals, but if they have extras, 5 or 10 here, I'll buy them from them, because I know that they're good quality. They're not breeding in mass quantities, and I think really that's the best situation you can have, is somebody that breeds for their own snakes but has maybe 5 or 10 extras. I think that's the best way to do it.
Right. And then you know exactly where they're coming from, and they're not being pumped full of God knows what, or eating
Right.
Lord knows what. You know what I mean?
Yeah, or being bred on like a mass commercial scale.
Right. That's how you end
Yeah,
up with just, and, I question it sometimes. I've always questioned this, is like, and maybe you have a take as someone who works with feeders all the time, and you know what to look for when it comes to, finding ethically sourced feeders. But ball pythons, I feel like they're notoriously picky, right? We all know
oh
this,
yeah,
okay? But I've always found that if I just buy my rats from somewhere reliable, and I keep the food on schedule, aside from like brumation periods, they will usually take those rats. The only
yeah.
time I've had a picky ball python is when the rat could have been questionable. And I'm almost curious if snakes and if reptiles, just because they're smarter than we give them credit for, I'm curious if they kind of pick up on, like, I think this is, this died because it was sick, not because it was frozen.
Yeah, yeah, I think they do. I mean, they're known for their sense of smell. So, I mean, look at those animals that can find tumors based on smell.
Right.
So I think it's absolutely possible for them to say that is not that's a sewer rat. I'm not eating that.
Basically.
And it's probably not the case with all of them, but yeah, definitely. And then our crickets, for the vendor, we have one vendor for crickets. That's it. They're the best you can get. We pay out the butt for shipping because they come from Michigan, but they are the cleanest, best we can get. So one vendor for crickets, and that's it. It's rough having all the different vendors we do, but I'm very selective.
That's a good thing, though, because
Yeah.
you really do take pride in where you're getting everything from. You're not cutting corners just to save whatever it is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a lot more actually.
Right, exactly.
But but I love these crickets. They last forever, and they're just so clean even when they come in. They were shipped overnight, and the box that they come in is even clean. Sometimes you'll get them from, the big box companies, and I don't know how long they've been in the boxes before they were shipped out, because they're just covered in cricket
Filth.
poop. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the ones that we get, they're packed and shipped overnight, and the boxes are clean when they get here, and I love it.
I can attest to that too. Like, I've physically gone in the back and seen the crickets and seen how they're kept. Like, you don't find that many places, not to do the overhype thing, but you really don't. It's hard to
Yeah.
find crickets that are good, and also crickets that are not going to die on you within a day. That's
Yes.
huge.
Yeah, our crickets, they'll live a long time. We will even sometimes breed our own pinhead crickets, and we'll get them to be able to grow up to about 1/8 of an inch. I mean, without the heat, they're not outside, they're in here. So without as much heat as they need, we can get them up to 1/8 of an inch. We can't get them to go much further than that, but those ones we will breed on our own sometimes. So
Those are good though, because they're good for, like, the long-tailed grass lizards are like the smaller species of thing, even like baby tarantulas.
Dart frogs,
Should
mantises.
you should you debrain a mouse when introducing it to your ball python? Our girl Catherine asked if you should debrain a mouse when introducing it to your ball python. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't actually know what debrain means.
I think you get the general idea. I wouldn't.
Like scooping it?
Nope. You could either you can either buy frozen and thaw it out. If you feed it live, the snake knows what to do. They don't in the wild, there's no special person that takes care of that in the wild. They'll get it. You definitely don't have to do that. I feel like that's more agony
Oh, I
than
just got what
anything.
it is. Sorry, I just understood what Kat meant when she said debrain. Gotcha.
Yep. Only if you're into that. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, no, you don't have to do that. They'll be totally fine. Really though, with ball pythons, you want to feed them rats. They have a higher fat content, so it keeps their body composition better than mice. So I definitely don't recommend mice for ball pythons. You do have some ball pythons that will only eat mice, but you really want to switch them over as quickly as you can because you need the high fat content in the rat.
And you guys have two types of rats, right?
Yes, we have the domestic rats, and we have the African soft fur rats, which is what ball pythons eat in the wild. So that's really for the picky ball pythons. That's usually 90% chance they'll go for it if they won't eat a rat or a mouse. There's just something about it, smell or something that they know,
It
and
triggers them. They
they're
know.
about it. Yeah.
It's instinctual.
Yeah, but make sure if you feed them that on a regular basis, you want a great reputable source because you don't want to run out of African softers and then your ball python won't eat anything else. That would be
Right,
terrible.
because they will get accustomed to a certain type of food over time.
Yeah, apparently they love them.
Yeah, I've heard they love them. Mine are not picky, thankfully, but I've heard that they love them.
Yeah,
So we'll see. I
yeah.
actually want to, if you're comfortable, I want to take a quick, like, couple second break, give a shout out to our sponsors. We actually have two new sponsors, which is Fangs. And this one I'm a little familiar with, just so you guys know, it's going to be kind of like a tracker so that you can keep track of like your molting, all your exotic pets, things like that. So check them out. And then also Tasty Critters. That is our newest sponsor. So Chris, if you want to go ahead and roll our sponsor reel, we are good to go with that. Yes, there's Fangs and Tasty Critters. Be sure to check.
Lights come on, pulse in the air, we unite. Cold-blooded got 5 feet in the night. Cold-blooded caffeine, fueling the fight. Reptile crew got our backs tight. Thank you fam for keeping us all. CMB reptiles rolling with soul. Hold no soul, lifting our goal. Together we burn like burning coal. Elevate, more fries in the show. Irresistible pythons letting it flow. Battery crew, yeah, we watch them go. Indigo, reptile co, set the glow. Shut up feeders, we shut out feeders. Under the rock with cold-blooded hitters. Ship your reptiles, make life better. South Bay reptiles, through every weather. Blue tongue, shaman, blue tongue republic. Arc adventures, riding republic. No fakes, no breaks, we're here to publish. Taking it higher, dreams embellished. Sponsors love through beats we rise. Showing thanks met under the skies. Unite the world, reptile ties. Cold blood, warm hearts, no disguise.
All right, we are back. I still have tape. There it is. Hi guys, we're back. Awesome. So Tara, I actually wanted to also talk to you a little bit about responsible reptile keeping, which we covered a little bit earlier. But how do you personally maintain like the health and safety of so many animals? Because you guys have a lot, and I have a lot, and I already know that it takes me hours in my own room. So having a shop.
Yeah. Yeah, we do. We have a lot, but we don't have as much as other shops do, but it is a lot of work. So I've kept it organized by making daily checklists for anybody that's working. We have quite a few different checklists, but they're laminated, so you can like check them off with the dry erase marker and as you go. So we've got a daily checklist, which has to be done every day. That's, cleaning out the shed, cleaning out the poop, misting, all that kind of daily stuff. And then we also have a weekly list. So for every day of the week, there's something different that needs to be done as well. We also have a volunteer list. So if people want to come in and volunteer, there's a little list of stuff that they can do as well. But we make it fun. So on there, we'll have like hold all the animals that you want, and just fun stuff to make it fun for anybody that wants to come volunteer. So, but they have their own little list that they can check off. That's how I keep things organized. I have lists and lists and lists and lists.
So do you do that for food as well, like feeding schedules?
Yes.
Or do you just kind of like, okay, yeah.
Yeah, so with the feeding schedule, we have chalk markers, and we'll write at the bottom corner of the enclosure when the last time they ate. So daily, we just kind of go through the shop and look at the dates and see if there's anybody that needs to be fed. A lot of them get fed more often than they need to, not too much more often, but if we have a rat that, or an ASF, sometimes they'll get in a fight and one will have a scab, or sometimes worse, we'll feed them off. So the animals get fed very well here.
Definitely. And how do you, because you have to feed your feeders as well, right?
Yes. Oh my gosh. We go through probably about, with our new rack, at least 100 pounds of Missouri a week. If not more, I'd say we're probably at about 130 pounds, maybe 150 pounds a week of the Missouri rodent food. Carrots, we're going through the 2-pound bag. So we probably go through 10 pounds of carrots a week. We get a bunch of like alfalfa pellets, different high protein things for the bugs. That's my favorite thing, is feeding the roaches. We go through probably 10 pounds of mandarins. Yeah, we go through a lot.
That's a lot of food for a lot of feeders.
But it's so fun. Today I just got done feeding the discoids, and it's just my favorite, because they just know, like, once you mist them down, they all start coming out because they know it's time for food. So they have one little dish that has oranges, whatever I decide to give them that week. Lately it's been mandarins, greens, and bananas. They only like a specific banana. They won't eat the bananas from Walmart. They have to be organic from Publix. I don't know. They just won't touch the Walmart ones. Yeah, it's weird. So yeah. So carrots, mandarins, and then all the extra stuff that we do, such as the alfalfa and the high protein chicken feed we use to keep all the feeders healthy and happy.
Chris had actually asked too about raw chicken leg. I'm guessing, Chris, you meant for like a reptile potentially. But he had asked about raw chicken legs as food. Is that, I've never heard of that actually. I've heard of like eggs, fish, things like that, but
I think that's
for ball pythons.
For ball pythons?
Yeah, he just clarified for ball pythons.
Oh, I don't know. I've never tried that before. Have to look into that.
I've tried it. I don't see it be. I mean, don't take my advice and run with it, because I'm not a professional. But I mean, I don't see it being an issue as long as it's not treated or pumped with a bunch of stuff.
Antibiotics and hormones. Yeah.
Yeah, as long as it's like raw and organic, it's meat. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, I could see, definitely monitors and stuff for the chicken and things like that.
I've seen them eat chicken breasts and stuff.
Yeah, I haven't tried that with any of the ball pythons. Interesting.
Curious about that though. What is when people come in and they look for feeders, are there certain benefits to like different feeders? Because I know that like the black soldier fly larva we just talked about, which I'm gonna come in and probably just buy your whole stock, just so you know.
Okay.
Uh,
Yeah, we just got some in.
but no, with certain feeders, there's certain benefits, higher protein, higher calcium, water. What do you usually tell people? Like what feeders are good for what, I should say?
So the discoids, in my opinion, as far as insects, are the best for lizards, bearded dragons, really any kind of lizard. They
Okay.
have the most nutrition packed into them for one animal. Um, and then waxworms are high in fat. So I like to give those to leopard geckos. They're great to keep their tail nice and fat. Crested geckos as well. Baby beardies. Waxworms are great. We are going to be getting in green banana roaches, which is really exciting. That's a whole nother feeder that's really exciting. And those are great for chameleons because they do fly and chameleons love to hunt. So those will be great for chameleons or beardies. What else? The hornworms are high in moisture. So if you have a bearded dragon or an animal that you feel like might be a little dehydrated, feed them a couple of hornworms. We have people that'll bring in their bearded dragons when they feel like they're constipated, and we'll feed them a few hornworms, and they poop right on the counter, and then
They're
issue's
good to
gone.
go.
Yeah, I'm gonna go plug in my phone. And then, yeah, for ball pythons, definitely want to do, I would stick to rats, not mice. ASFs, if you need to. But what else? The silkworms. I have personally learned that the leopard geckos love silkworms. And
Really?
that's just something that I've learned from my experience playing around with the reptiles in the shop, is that every leopard gecko I've ever met loves silkworms.
That's
So,
interesting.
yep. Yeah. And yeah, I'm just trying to think. Superworms for the beardies. The black soldier fly larvae, yeah, they have very high calcium content, so there's no need to dust them. Those are great for frogs and leopard geckos and bearded dragons. They're small, but if you use them for chameleons and you see that they're kind of turning dark, that means that they're pupating and then they'll hatch soon, and then your chameleon would love to eat that black soldier fly when it hatches, comes out.
Start flying around. For
Yeah.
like a white dumpy tree frog or something like that, what are some of the better feeders for like amphibians and frogs like that?
We give ours waxworms a lot,
Okay.
hornworms, silkworms. They love crickets, of course. Crickets are always a staple for almost every reptile. But to give them a variety is fun. See what they
Definitely.
like.
And it's probably like, I would imagine it's pretty beneficial to them to get a little bit of variety since they would get that, out in their natural environment as well.
Yes, each bug or feeder has different nutrition value in them for different things. So it's nice to give them kind of a wide range of different variety.
Right. And I think Kat, if you're still tuning in, you just got a ball python, I believe. So going back to sticking with feeders and going back to the rats, other than like smell, is there anything really different about the soft fur rats versus just like the regular rats? Or is it just like a ball python preference thing?
No, they definitely do offer a different fat content. What that is, I'm not too sure. And a different type of nutrition. Again, what that is, I'm not too sure. But they do offer, something different as far as rats, ASF, and mice.
Okay. Oh, she got a corn snake too. That was the other thing is I actually wanted to ask you this as well in regards to feeders. Corn snakes and rat snakes, right? So they're longer snakes, obviously, but they're not super thick. What size rat or mouse would you recommend giving to them? And is it true or false that rats contain more nutrition for those snakes than a mouse would?
That I don't know. don't know too much about that, but size wise, you'd go by the probably the thickest part of their body and feed them something. Now the size of their head, it doesn't matter too much. You know what you feed them. If you're like, oh, their neck is too skinny to take that down, that's not how that works. It's the biggest part, the thickest part of their body. That's how you would decide the size. There is weight. You could go by weight, you could go by size. Now I know there is like if your snake is this many grams, then you feed it this much. Again, there's different schools of thought on everything. So what you decide to do, it's not one way is not wrong, and the other way is, you know, it's just really what you decide to do. But for us, the easiest way is just going by the thickest part of their body to choose the size of the rat. So about the thickest part of their body, you want to go that size thickness on the feeder, or like a quarter bigger. So
Gotcha.
yeah,
So it could be a little bit bigger. It just can't be significantly larger.
right.
Gotcha.
I have seen them eat significantly larger, but you know, it's not. I mean, I wouldn't recommend it. You know, but
Right.
if the animal is starving in the wild, you know, of course they're gonna eat whatever comes around. So it is possible, but and you don't have to stress too much about size. There's not a perfect size in the wild. You know, they get what they can. So you know, if it's a quarter of an inch, you know, a little bit bigger or smaller, it doesn't have to be exactly perfect.
Right. Because then, I mean, like you said, it doesn't have to be exactly perfect. Just making sure it's not too big. Because at that point, it's a matter of, especially when you're holding a snake in captivity or really any reptile. I've seen, unfortunately, and I'm so upset that I've seen it, but I have seen when they prolapse because they've eaten something that's too big, right? And so they end up not being able to get it fully out. Um, and that's a risk that, you know, I think a lot of keepers, but I specifically have been traumatized by that. So
Wow.
yeah,
Yeah,
that
that's
that
not
was
something
pretty
I've seen in
intense.
person, but I did hear about that. And well, yeah, I'm not a vet, but what I heard was brown sugar water will help with the prolapse.
See, and I've heard Epsom salt would help if you soak them in an Epsom salt bath.
That
But
sounds more accurate than the brown sugar water, but
I gotta be honest with you, that's what we did when we saw the one. Because I had contacted a friend and I was like, what, you know, what do they do about this, right? And he said, put them in an Epsom salt bath, and the snake started seizing. Like, I'm trying to be very careful with how I word this because we have a lot of people here who love these animals. So it's like,
okay.
I don't want to upset anyone, but that, you know,
So
that's
maybe
something
not
that
Epsom
happened.
salt bath.
Yeah. Chris just said
Yeah,
he
that's
heard
a
of
tough
sugar
one.
cane too.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a tough one. I can only go by what I've personally experienced. But yeah, that's so what ended up happening with the snake?
It passed on the spot. Yeah, it was rough. It's weird because it's like when you see, this is going to sound horrible. I don't mean it. We love all animals, right? But when you see a four-legged furry animal having a seizure, I don't feel like it's as startling as seeing a snake do that, right? Because the snake has no legs. The snake, like, you don't know how to turn it on its side, help it, none of that. So yeah, it was really intense, but the snake did
It's,
pass. Um,
unfortunate. So
it sucked, but
probably not the Epsom salt thing.
right.
That's
Right.
what I
And
got from
being
that
very
story.
careful with the size of what you're feeding them. Like, it's okay to go a little
That's
over.
number
Just don't
one.
make it huge. Don't
Yeah.
make it huge.
But I will tell you, you know, as much as we know and everybody else knows and is an expert on this or that, I would say that we're all still learning. Things change, you know, as experiences and things happen. At first, when I first started the shop, I never thought you should feed a ball python bigger than a medium. But we did have a large rat that was having issues, so we fed it off to one of our ball pythons, and that ball python looks so much healthier and happier. And so that's totally changed my opinion on the size rats of giving, for ball pythons. So the adults, they can take a large, and I think that it is probably a lot healthier for them, just depending on, the size of them compared to the rat. But my main point was just that, things change based on your experience. So even though we feel like we know something, it can always change. We're not, that hard-headed that we think our way is right and that's it.
Right.
So we're all still learning, and that's why having the community is so important, because we can learn from other people's mistakes or experiences and not have to make those ourselves.
Right, exactly. And like you said with the large rats for the ball python, I'm feeding Venom, my one ball python. He's on large rats. He's been on large rats for a while. Takes them down just fine.
Yeah.
Um, the rat snake takes down, what are they? They get him fuzzy rats, and he'll eat like two of those, and he's good to go. But yeah, I mean, they'll take down decent sizes because I think a lot of people don't realize with their heads, like you said, their jaw, like, just for everyone out there, their jaw disconnects. So like they have a jaw that's pretty much mobile, and that whole like it really is nightmare fuel, but I love it. It's the whole mouth just stretches, and it becomes huge. So like you said, I've always gauged it by that middle part of their body.
Yeah. As long as
So,
they're not like starving, and they're too thin.
right,
Because
right,
if they're too thin and
exactly.
you're like, oh, it only needs a small, you know.
Right. Do you weigh any of the reptiles in the store by chance, or do you just kind of like eye gauge it,
Yeah, I just kind of
eyeball it?
eyeball it. We weigh our rats mostly to make sure that they're the appropriate size for what size we're selling. That's what we weigh the most.
Right. And you freeze your own rats there too, right?
We do have the CO2 situation set up. Yeah. We don't do
Cool.
it too often, but we do it when we have to.
Yeah.
It's not my
Well,
favorite
I mean,
part of
yeah,
the job.
absolutely. I'll say it's part of it. Like I come in there and I'll need a frozen. I've never bought. I don't think I've ever bought in live from you guys. I think I always buy frozen because they eat frozen. They don't want
Mm,
live.
good.
So yeah. I wanted to also kind of go over uh what it's like. Hold on. I have the question here and I just had a brain fart. Here it is. I wanted to ask you about the challenges of running a reptile store. What are some things that you've kind of faced that have been a challenge that you've grown from specifically? Because I know you said everything is kind of a learning curve, everything is like growing and figuring out different factors. But what are some instances maybe that stick out to you that really just helped you move forward?
When I first opened, I would be the first to admit I didn't know everything about reptiles. So when we first opened, we had a lot of reptile lovers, reptile enthusiasts who knew what they were doing, and I would ask them, please let me know if you have any recommendations about heating, lighting, anything, and that's how I learned. We had one of the zookeepers at Zoo Tampa came in and gave me some advice about the heating for king snakes and, just all this different stuff. So taking advice was great. Of course, you always kind of double check. Budgeting is one I'm still working on, and that's the business side of it. But I'm still working on everything changes from day to day, but budgeting is one of the biggest ones. And I, all kinds of stuff, we really just wing it.
Yeah,
That's how we roll. We just wing everything. Not as much anymore, but when we first started, we just kind of had to be open to everything. And I think that's how you succeed when you don't know everything. Not that anybody really does, but when you don't know a ton, it's just
right.
taking
That
advice.
foundation.
Yeah, taking advice and handling constructive criticism and just doing what you feel is right for the animals.
Definitely. How do
Yeah.
you feel like, how does that affect where you get your animals from? Because you buy them from breeders, right? So is that a more expensive process? If someone were looking into wanting to start or open up their own reptile shop and they wanted to do it ethically like you guys do, what does that look like? Is that harder, or would you say it's a little bit I don't want to say easy, right? Because it's not easy. But do
Right.
you find it's easier to manage with how you're doing it versus just dealing with a constant influx all the time?
Yeah, sourcing the reptiles is, but once you kind of get out there and you get to know people, and understand the way that they work and they breed their animals, you know who you want to work with and like maybe who you probably wouldn't, based on experience or whatever the situation is. But yeah, how I learned it was just going to shows and meeting people and talking to people and seeing what kind of animals they had and the condition that they were in. But I don't buy too much. We get a lot of surrenders. I do have ball python breeders. Every now and then, I'll have a breeder that I work with, and they either, have a really good deal on a big clutch of something, and so I'll get that every now and then. But I'm not out there every week, like, what can I get? I need inventory, I need stock. It's not that way. I personally would rather have more products than animals. And I don't keep animals like product, where I'm like, I
Right.
have to have this amount of crested geckos and this amount of ball pythons. I like to keep a variety for sure. But I kind of just go with the luck of the draw a lot of the times, unless we really need something that
Right.
people are looking for, like axolotls. I'm going to be having axolotls in store. We already have a little area set up with a little sign, because people have been calling like crazy, and we did have them when we first opened. Um,
They
and
gained a lot of popularity recently.
yeah, recently, within the past couple of years, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, when we
Yeah.
had them in store when we first opened, we sold them pretty quickly. But yeah, so we're gonna do it again. We'll see how it goes. I'll enjoy it regardless. They're fun. They are a lot of work. Um,
They
Especially with the
are.
cleaning of the poop every day. They poop like crazy. But they are very cool, amazing creatures that really are being studied a lot for, their being able to redevelop their bodies. Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
I've heard even
So
they're looking into some kind of maybe secretion isn't the word, but something they produce. They're looking into that for like medical reasons now for
yeah,
cures and whatnot, which is
which
just
is
wild.
amazing. And that's why,
Yeah.
as a reptile keeper, that's why keeping animals sometimes is so important. Such as the axolotl, because in Mexico, where they're from, their habitat is pretty much all gone. They built Mexico City over the lake that they were all in. So if it wasn't for people keeping them domestically and breeding them, they'd probably, be on the endangered species list. So
Right.
that's
Or worse, we may
really
not even have them, you know?
right. And think about
Yeah.
what we would be missing out as far as medical, when they do figure out how to kind of use this amazing regenerative thing that they have and be able to implement it into medically for humans. If they can, that would
Right.
be incredible.
It's amazing. I think that's huge too, is like responsible reptile keeping is not just making sure that your reptile has a great enclosure and setup and blah blah blah, the fun side of it. It's also the fact that like it does contribute to helping conservation in that way. And especially, I mean, keeping tarantulas and different species. It was only recently someone told me, again, I can confirm nor deny. Someone told me recently, and I will do my own research after the show, so no one come at me, that the green bottle blue is apparently an endangered species. I did not know this, but I do know that there are other tarantulas that are endangered, like Mexican red knees, and being able to keep those tarantulas and, hope they grow up to be males or females and breeding them, that's really, we're contributing to the help of conservation. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And axolotls for sure. That's number one,
And I
because
think
they're
we forget, like, as humans, you know, we don't think about the animals when we go in and we start building, we start destroying things and their habitats and their homes, but what we really
yeah.
need to focus on is like, how are we going to coexist? Because the axolotls is really the best representation I think I've ever
Yeah,
seen. You know,
their
you've
whole
got this creature. Yeah, absolutely.
their whole natural habitat is pretty much gone.
Which is devastating. And even, I mean, we're still thinking of a date, but I have someone I'm hoping to come on and talk about the Eastern Massasauga. If I said that right, it's a pygmy species of rattlesnake, which again is endangered because same situation, homes are just getting destroyed.
Yeah. Yep. And
Yeah.
that goes for a lot of animals, other than reptiles as well. But, at least keeping the axolotls, we're keeping the species, and that's rewarding, knowing that
Yeah,
we're helping by doing that, as long as we're taking care of them.
definitely. So I want to go ahead because it's been about an hour, and I know you probably have stuff to do. And obviously I got to get these guys, but I wanted to close out with if you could give someone one piece of advice, right? Or just a piece of advice about start their first reptile, right? What piece of advice would you give them?
Do your research. Do your research. Find out how big it gets. Find out what it all requires, and make sure that this is a commitment that you want to make. That's number one. Know exactly what you're getting into. Don't walk into a store and say, hey, that's really cute. Let me get that, and then I'll figure out how to take care of it. Know
Right.
what you're doing before. Research your breeders. See,
Definitely.
yeah, that's definitely number one. That's the advice we give to everybody. And we're working on care sheets for our website as well. I just completely rebuilt our website, and just launched a reptile t-shirt line on there. We have about 4 designs
Yes.
right now, and we'll be adding more and more every week. I have a ton of different conservation and educational sayings and slogans and designs in my head. It's just like it's all bursting out, so I can't wait to get it all out and get it on the website. But we're gonna have some awesome stuff.
I'm excited
So
for that.
yeah, I'm excited. I already love our cold-blooded crew shirt that we have. That's a new design, and it's really
I
neat.
got to pick one of those up. That one is
Yeah.
so cool. When I saw it, I'm like, oh my God, that's awesome.
Yeah. So everything's online right now. There's stickers. There's going to be coffee mugs and all different kinds of stuff. But stickers and T-shirts you can get online, and then eventually in store we'll be able to have that stuff too. But to start, we're going to do it there, because I feel like we need just a huge variety of reptile shirts. Everybody that comes in are always wearing reptile shirts, and I'm like, that's so cute.
Always.
That's so cute. Yeah. So Indigo Reptile Co. needs theirs.
Oh yeah, I love
It's
it.
fun. It's my creative outlet.
That's gonna be awesome. Also, you guys have, and it's Indigo brand is the
Earth
Chris, Megan,
Revival?
send me a shirt. Chris wants a shirt.
Yay!
Got you. I got you.
Go on our website, indigoreptileco.com. There's only a couple of designs on there right now, but we have them for everybody. Toddlers, onesies, children, adults, and then we also have some like low-cut V-necks for women. We need some cool shirts for us too. So, and some
Yes.
cute ones that show off our goods.
And I
Not the whole thing,
also
but
I mean, whatever you're feeling. No.
putting it up there.
I also want to say, Indigo, you guys have your own earth revitalizer, which
Yeah.
is that's fermented formula, and you put it into your water, and it helps to basically do exactly what it says, is revitalize the soil. And that can be bought online as well. So anyone tuning in that has a reptile, I mean any reptile, but one specifically maybe that needs humidity, really check out. Just buy the stuff because I use it in my ball python enclosures, and that stuff is great. It never
Yeah, we use
smells.
it.
The humidity's up.
Yeah, we use it for all of our enclosures. And even today, this lady came in and she's like, how do you keep the smell down? And I said, well, actually,
Let me
on
tell
top of
you.
Yeah, on top of our cleaning our rodent bins twice a week, we spray the earth revitalizer and everything, and we even use it for these tadpoles. So it's safe for tadpoles, springtails, isopods. It adds beneficial bacteria and fungi to your soil to help get that bioactive going. If you don't have bioactive, the reptile breeders are using it on their substrates to help kind of break down the feces and stuff a lot quicker and keep the odor down. It's also wonderful for plants. They actually really use it for a lot of stuff, but I got the reptile exclusive on it. So for the reptile side of things, but they're using it to clean up cyanide. They're using it to break down waste in what are those? Not a sewer, but what's the one out in like the rural areas?
Like a landfill?
Well, yeah, like that, but God, I can't even think about it right now. But anyways, yeah, they're using it for all different kinds of stuff, and I got the reptile exclusive for it. It's great. It decontaminates the water. We use it if we're like quickly changing an animal from one enclosure to another. We'll use it to kind of decontaminate. We haven't had any issues yet, so it's awesome. I mean, and it's great for plants, prevents root rotting, and
Yeah, no, I can attest to that. Like I sprayed it on some plants outside, just, playing games, right?
yeah,
Works great.
you want a healthy
They love
plant.
it.
Yeah, if you
Yeah,
want a
it's
healthy plant, it's
great. And like the
awesome.
ball python enclosure, so for anyone out there, like I don't do bioactive just because I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm lazy. I'm lazy. The less work I have to do, the better.
Girl, I would
But
say the opposite. Bioactive is if you're lazy. That's why we have everything bioactive in here, because otherwise we'd have to clean these enclosures all the time. It's a self-cleaning thing once you get it
hear
set
me
up.
out. Hear me out. It's the isopods. Listen, they don't like me. So I have tried to keep isopods twice. They should be easy. They should be so easy because they just eat natural crap and like, the calcium and this and that. I mean, we got a starter kit, right? I don't think they're alive. I hate saying that on this as a reptile keeper. Like that sucks to say, but I'm just
No,
being honest. Like
no,
these
everybody,
isopods
you're
suck.
not the only one, I'm sure. There's somebody on here that's like, yes, I totally understand where she's coming from. I am not a failure.
Right. Or maybe in my mind, I think it's like, when you have someone like me functioning with like high functioning anxiety, I think the more tasks I have to do, maybe that's more relaxing and easier for me. I don't know. But yeah, it works even in the non-bioactive enclosures and it breaks down poop, which is what blew my mind because if you don't have time for isopods, you can honestly use this stuff and it works. It's crazy.
Yeah,
It freaked
I
me
love
out a
it.
little bit, Tara. I was watching it happen. I'm not watching it, but I watched the process and I'm like, what is this stuff? This is incredible.
It is incredible.
Yeah.
It would totally be a game changer in the reptile world. I've been trying to get distribution on it, but maybe I'm not trying hard enough, but it would totally, when I did speak to a couple of these companies, they're like, that would be a total game changer. So,
Yeah.
I've been pushing it for a while now. And, that's a whole nother side of stuff to learn, launching a brand, launching a
Right.
product. I mean, I'm just now putting the final touches on learning how to run a reptile shop.
Right.
So that's a whole nother thing. I took on probably too much at one time, but I didn't want to lose the opportunity.
That's fair. I mean, that's something I agree with. I think in every aspect of life is like, just don't lose the opportunity.
Yeah.
Grip it. Stop telling me to let go of stuff because I'm not going to let go. I'm holding on.
Yeah. I'm not saying no to an opportunity. I will
Right.
make it work. Just be patient. Be
Right.
patient.
Dedication.
Yeah. So once we get the word out there more about the Earth Revitalizer, it'll definitely be a game changer.
Definitely. And I mean, hey, if anyone out there knows of like a distributor that's reputable, that's, reliable, they're going to be good, hit Tara up. Indigo Reptile Company on Facebook, Instagram, like Google. There's
TikTok,
really no
yeah.
excuses. You can find them anywhere.
We're here. Oh, we've been doing Palm Street lives too. So we'll probably start doing that
Yeah,
again. I want to do it while we're running the whole shop and just have the live go for the whole day. I feel like that would
that
be
would be
fun.
awesome.
Yeah.
That would be super cool.
So many ideas, so little time.
Right.
But I'm
Well, I'm gonna
trying.
have to I'm gonna have to come up with some ideas and call you on them. But
Yeah,
all
please.
right, I'm gonna let you get to your night because we're
Thank
a
you.
little over time, but it's
Sorry.
okay. No, God, no, Tara, I love talking to you. Don't ever apologize. No one's allowed to apologize on the podcast except for me, because you guys don't owe apologies. But thank you for coming on. I appreciate it.
Thank
And
you.
everyone, thank you for tuning in. Please be sure to give Indigo a follow on Instagram. And if you have Facebook, check them out on Facebook as well.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course. You have a great night. And everyone else, you guys have a great night as well.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.